I don't know of a more poorly engineered computer power supply than that of the Commodore 64 as shown here, and also demonstrated in a previous video linked above. The Amiga 500 power supply is not getting any younger. And before we go connecting this into the Amiga, I got to thinking to myself, maybe it's time that we open this power supply up and just make sure everything's operating properly. This thing is going on, what, I'd say about 30 years old now, the Amiga 500, so it'd be a good idea to test it out. Unlike the Commodore 64 power supply, this power supply only produces DC. It produces 5 volt positive, 12 volt positive, and 12 volt negative. The 5 volt positive can pull a significant amount of current, 4.5 amps it is rated for. 12 volt being 1 amp and negative 12 volt being a tenth of an amp. So on the 5 volt rail, that's significant. That's impressive. I have heard that later models of the power supply do not allow for that amount of power consumption. I'm not sure, but I've heard that this one, you know, as we see here, is pretty stout. So let's get started. And here we have a look inside the unit. The first time it's been opened in probably forever. We're going to remove the bottom portion from the case. There's just a couple screws that hold that circuit board into place here. First thing I noticed when I removed this from the case is all of these capacitors, which have been soldered to the underside of the board. I went online onto Google and looked at some pictures of other Amiga power supplies and did not see this work on the units of others. Granted, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. I'm curious, maybe folks with Amiga power supplies could comment and let me know if they also have these modifications to theirs as well. As I mentioned earlier, this unit was the Type 2 with the 4.5 amp rated on the 5 volt. I went and checked. The Type 1 was only rated for 2.5 amp. That means that the overall rating of this is 37 watts, where the previous was only 25.7. I could compare this to other Amiga power supplies that are also of a lower wattage than this, but it's apples and oranges because, you know, you're also rating it against a different model computer. But based on the power supplies that was provided on the list, this one has the highest power rating of all of them. Interesting note, as I have opened this unit up, the only IC I see here is an NJL 5121 Delta Bravo, and this is an optocoupler. Things I want to look at here while this is open, I have a couple of across-the-line X2 capacitors. These white-looking bricks right here. Several electrolytic capacitors ranging from large size here to really little ones right here, and several back here in this filtering section here on the output. There's also a coil right there. Other things of interest, like this resistor. It's probably a couple watts resistor. There are a few in here like this one, and we could see this one and that one. I checked the board on the bottom to see if there was any burning, and there is not, but I want to look at the values anyway. Another thing I noticed was like this resistor was sitting right on top of this voltage regulator. I had pushed it away. Those are things that I want to check for. That's all. Nothing crazy here. I have no reason to believe that it's not working. Obviously, I'm going to you know, make sure the fuse is good. I have no reason to believe that is needed. There's hot snot all over this thing from its original fabrication. Also, potentiometer is right here. I imagine the input voltage to the going into the voltage regulators are set right from the rectified voltage, and then there's DC. An output DC from here that goes into this section, and that's set up here. I'm just assuming because I don't have a schematic, but there is actually a potentiometer in here that is set up probably for an ideal value. Now I'm just going through, I'm measuring ESR based on the table. Nothing crazy. I'm just trying to find any outliers that might be causing any issues. For something like this, anything 0.5 and above would be cause for concern. This is 0.09. I moved past it. Here's another one I'm not concerned with either. I'm going to move to the next. And here we have a problem. We have 47 microfarad capacitor at 16 volts. Should read higher, no higher than 1.6, and I'm seeing 4.16. So I'm going to have to mark this one for further analysis. So I'm going to proceed now and come back to this one later. This is 10 at 16 volts. This should read no higher than 8, and I am seeing 1. So this one is okay too. I'm going to move past this one. This 220 at 25 looking just fine. This 22 at 25, this just makes it. 22, 25 should be 2.1. It's showing 2.2. I'm gonna annotate it, but it's not like broken. It seems to be just at the end of its serviceable life. I'd measure these two together because they're in parallel. I'm seeing a 0.02. There's no real scale on here, but looking in between two values, I could see that. Yeah, I don't see anything terribly wrong going on here. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to move past these. This one appears to be good by a wide margin. I'll move on to the next one. So what I have here is well within tolerance. That's the last capacitor. So what I found is one bad capacitor and one possibly bad capacitor, C18 and 21. I'm going to remove both of them from the circuit board and test them out of circuit and replace them if required. It's definitely no mistake. This has a very high ESR for what it is. It is about 4 ohms. And just a quick look up here to confirm again. You know what? I'm mistaken as I read this. It's not 47 microfarads. It's 0.47 microfarads. It's a very large capacitor for 0.47 microfarads. That would explain the ESR. But just to be absolutely sure, while I got it out of circuit, I'm going to do a leak down on it. If the leak down proves to be okay, then I'm going to invalidate the ESR test. I'm going to put it right back in. I'm going to move to the next capacitor. That's fine. I can make a mistake. Okay, I've got the capacitor in the test set. I'm letting the tubes warm up. And once it's warmed up, let me dial this all the way down to 3. We're going to go with, electrolytic, because it is. And we're just going to ramp this up to the maximum voltage of 16 and see what we got. Good on 3. Can't see nothing. Interesting. Let's drop that down. Okay, so we can see 6, 10, and even on paper mica, you know, that's doing just fine. This capacitor is okay. So we're going to put it back in circuit. No harm, no foul. We'll move over to the next one. Take a look at it again with the ESR meter. This is 22 microfarad at 25 volt. So I will .8. Yeah, this is out of bounds. 1.2 is showing 1. And it is climbing. It is climbing as I sit here. 1.9. Interesting. I'm not going to sit here and watch it climb. Let's move it over. See what we got on the meter. Should see. I'll put on the 200 scale. I don't have any room for the impedance bridge on the desk right now, so we'll just use my El Cheapo LCR meter. Seeing 21.2 microfarads. So as far as the capacitance, we're good. Let's see what the leak down test says. Red is positive. White is negative. It has to be rated to 25 volts. We'll start on electrolytic. 3 volts. 3, 6, 10, 15, 25. So that showed okay. Let's just see, make sure everything's working. 3. The 6 is a bit slow. I'm trying to see that given time, if it'll open up at the rated voltage. Maybe I'll come back and look it on the ESR meter, see if it just needed to be reconditioned, right? So we could see that there is a high current flow at 25 volts at the maximum voltage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk away and I'm going to come back. Let me move this, we can see the eye a little easier. I'm going to walk away and come back in about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll see what we got. Having been sitting for a while on the IT11, I'm curious to know if the ESR has changed now that it has formed a layer on the capacitor. So we'll see. I should probably use a new one. I decided to replace the cap with a really nice Nichicon that I have in storage. It's sitting here cooking on the IT11 to reform, as it's been in storage for a little while. We're going to take a look at the ESR, and if it's good, we're going to drop it right in. And our ESR is... yeah, 1 ohm. So this is really good. This is a lot better than the other one. This is the one we're going to slap in right now. At this point, the check was thorough enough that we could remount this power supply in the bottom shell, which would really be the only safe way to fire this up to check voltages. I don't want this freestanding because this thing is kind of everywhere with cables and whatnot. With everything back in the case, voltages can also, you know, simply be measured from the connector itself. We're going to put this on the multimeter and see that everything looks okay. Take some quick measurements of the unit here. I've got it powered up. We'll go against the ground here in the shell. And we're seeing, remember the pins in any specific order. So there we go, there's 5 volts looking good. You know, right there, that's ground. And there's neg 12, seeing 11.8 on this, that's fine, right? Up here we got positive 12, showing 11.8. And here we have again signal ground. So yeah, everything's looking good. I think we could close it up, and I'm going to say it's safe to connect to the Amiga. I'm confident enough in the power supply that I'm connecting it to the Amiga. We're going to give it a go. So let's fire it up. It's a good sign. And workbench is booting. The power supply appears to be working fine. I haven't added any peripherals to the computer. There's a couple of extra add-ons in this computer from about 25 years ago, but nothing crazy. But I'm going to say that, you know, this power supply is working. It's safe for now. This capacitor has been replaced. It was faulty. And yeah. So that's it. That concludes the testing and turn-up of this Amiga 500 power supply. Thanks for watching.